Part 28. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bouletin G. Bayet. Chapter 276. Hey, why don't you pay attention to me? The figure in front of him flashed, and Andy stopped him directly, with a look of dissatisfaction on his face. Pay attention to you? Why should I pay attention to you? Gray said unhappily, you have come to my house so many times, do I still need to receive you? Go in by yourself. After entering the banquet hall of nearly 100 square meters was magnificent and brightly lit. The ground was full of tables, and every table was filled with red wine, delicious food, and desserts. In the banquet hall, waiters walked around with plates, and the atmosphere was very good. See, the older generation stands on one side, and the younger generation stands on the other side. The division is very clear. Gray pointed to the distribution of people in the banquet hall and said in a low voice. In the huge banquet hall, the left side was full of middle-aged people, the youngest of whom was 30 years old. They gathered in circles and talked about something, and laughter came from time to time. On the other side, there were groups of young talents and proud girls. Most of them came with their elders, or to meet people of the same age, or to have other exchanges. In addition to the people from the original Demon City, there were also other students from the compound who had already arrived in the Demon City. For example, in a corner of the banquet hall, there were 7 young men in red clothes. These 7 people were in high spirits, and the murderous aura on their bodies was inadvertently radiating to the surroundings, making people dare not approach. Such a group of people who attracted attention made Yejing look sideways and asked curiously, which force are these people from? These. Gray looked over there and shuddered all over. A trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. He said in a deep voice, these are students from the Border City War Academy. They are here to participate in the 100 Schools battle. They are also among the invited today. Border City War Academy. After a slight pause, Yejing suddenly realized that it was no wonder that their murderous intent was so strong that they could not be covered. It turned out that they were from the War Academy. What city is Border City? It is the planet fragment at the edge of the blue star, the city closest to the alien race, and is in war every day. It is the battle with the alien race that makes their killing intent so solidified. And the Border City War Academy is also the academy with the most practical experience in the entire Blue Star, and it is also the first choice of all the years. Why did they come so early? Yejing frowned and asked. There are still more than 20 days before the start of the 100 Schools War. Why are they here now? It's because of our family's bounty on the Black God Society. They want to hunt and get some extra income. Anyway, they have to come. It's better to come later than to come earlier. Gray shrugged his shoulders and said. The Border City War Academy is the academy with the most serious casualties among the 5 academies, and the resources allocated to them are also the most among the 5 academies. After all, the resources given to the Border City War Academy are not called practice resources, but pensions. Yejing asked, among the 5 courtyards, except for the War Court, have any other people arrived? Gray nodded, Water Spirit Court is also here. The Water Spirit Court has the closest relationship with our family. It has already visited at the beginning of the year. It should not come today. 5 courtyards on Blue Star. Imperial Court in Imperial City, Demon Court in Demon City, War Court in Border City, Water Spirit Court in Water Realm, and Great Forest Court in Forest Realm. Now, 3 of the 5 courtyards are already in Demon City. It's no wonder that Demon City is in chaos. It would be strange if it wasn't in chaos. After Yejing and others entered the table, Ai Zayakui still had a tense face. Her white and clean hands couldn't stop rubbing each other. She looked restrained. A trace of sweat appeared on her forehead. How uncomfortable she must be. Not only Ai Zayakui, but Ji Kinjian, who has always been greedy, also held back. Her exquisite face was very serious, her smooth arms were behind her back, her eyes were always looking at the delicacies on the table, but she forced herself to pretend to be a lady. Yejing was speechless when he saw these two people. Is it that serious? A banquet hides one's true nature. At this moment, the originally noisy banquet hall suddenly became quiet. A middle-aged man walked out from the back hall of the banquet hall. The man walked like a dragon and a tiger, and his bearing was majestic. The moment he appeared, the air in the whole banquet hall stagnated instantly. The middle-aged man walked to the front of the banquet hall, the smile on his face became deeper and deeper, his eyes narrowed into a slit, and he smiled and arched his hands to the audience. Thank you all for coming to my son's birthday party today. Everyone, eat and drink well first. If there is anything, we will talk after the banquet. You still have the nerve to say that my birthday party is clearly a gathering of a group of old foxes. Gray said in a low voice with dissatisfaction, and then introduced to Yejing, this is my father, the current patriarch of the Edward family. Old fox, it's right, these are all a group of old foxes. After the opening remarks, there was laughter in the banquet hall. Everyone raised their glasses to toast Gray's father. Just as they were about to drink it all, a voice suddenly interrupted them. The Marquis Richard of Crescent City has arrived. A loud shout instantly changed the faces of the people in the banquet hall, and the joyful atmosphere instantly became solemn. The smile on Gray's father's face froze and became gloomy. His face was uncertain. After a few seconds of silence, he put on a hypocritical smile again. Please come in, Marquis Richard. Ha ha ha, no need to invite, this Marquis has already come in. A neat sound of footsteps came from outside the banquet hall, and every step was extremely heavy, as if stepping on the heartbeats of everyone present. The footsteps were getting closer and closer, and a team of knights wearing silver armor and holding silver spears walked in with their heads raised. A team of 10, the silver-armored knights were divided into 2 rows and stood on the left and right of the banquet hall, with silver spears standing upright on the ground, expressionless, sacred and majestic. After the 10 silver-armored knights took their positions, everyone in the banquet hall changed their faces, and there were only 4 words in their hearts. Uninvited guests. After seeing the silver armor on the knights, Yejing's eyelids suddenly twitched, the corners of his mouth twitched, and he turned his head and whispered to Gray, this armor is all mithril, right? So rich. He subconsciously glanced at Ai Zayakui, and saw Ai Zayakui's eyes shining, staring straight at the mithril armor on the knights, drooling. Xiao Zayakui, don't be impulsive. This mithril armor cannot be moved. Gray nodded, and said solemnly, not only that, the knights wearing armor are full of spiritual energy, and the Tianling Dagong pressures the divine will. These 10 knights are all at the peak of the Dagong realm. A big deal. Heavy armor made of pure mithril, long spears made of pure mithril, and 10 knights at the peak of the underground palace realm led the way. A grand scene, with style. After the silver-armored knights took their positions, a long, clean and dust-free red carpet was rolled in from outside. After the red carpet was in place, a person slowly walked in from outside the banquet hall, an uninvited guest. Marquis Richard of New Moon City, uninvited. Ahem ahem ahem. I have something to say. Raise my brother for 1,000 days, use my brother for a moment. The humble author has opened a new book, the title of the book is Generate Electricity with Hate. Here I ask the big brothers to support it, collect and recommend it for investment. It's the end of the month, if you are still eligible to invest, just throw it to me. If you are chasing new books, you might as well try my book. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bouletin G. Bayet. Chapter 277. Outside the banquet hall, a young man wearing a silver robe and an impressive appearance walked in. The young man was as powerful as a rainbow and had a handsome face. His blonde hair was scattered behind him, and his blonde hair was soft. In addition to the silver robe, the golden when silver meets each other, it looks extremely noble. The young man wore pure white gloves on his hands, a shining bright moonstone on his right hand, and smooth and clean mithril boots on his feet. He walked in step by step on the red carpet. The moment the extraordinary young man stepped into the banquet hall, a pair of 10 knights in 2 rows neatly raised their silver spears high and above their heads. Their right foot wrapped in heavy armor took a step forward and stamped fiercely. On the ground, he shouted loudly, "Welcome to Marquis Charles." Marquis Charles, who was about 25 or 26 years old, after receiving the ceremony, raised his hand slightly towards Shishi to signal. Boom! There was another muffled sound in unison, and 10 silver guns landed at the same time. Is this the Marquis of Crescent City? He is so young. Zanmiao. Someone younger than my grandson actually occupies such a high position. He's not old, but he's quite impressive. I just don't know if he's capable. There have been a lot of trouble happening in Crescent City recently, and it seems that this time it's because of bad intentions. The title was an honor that only the leader of a Western country in ancient times was eligible to confer before the Cataclysm. After the Cataclysm, the honor of title was abolished on Blue Star, and it no longer exists. However, Crescent City ignored the objections of the Blue Star Federation and granted titles to senior figures in Crescent City without authorization. This knighthood event was completed within these few months, and the title was the same as in the ancient West. It is divided into 7 categories: King, Duke, Marquis, Earl, Viscount, Baron, and Lord. This kind of title was conferred directly by Crescent City itself, and the official documents were also signed by Crescent City itself. The Federation only learned of the news after everything was over. And Marquis Charles, who is not here in person now, was on a friendly visit to Blue Star. He got the news about the Edward family's banquet from somewhere, so he came in person with the knight in shining armor. Marquis Charles is only 26 years old this year and is one of the top talented elites in Crescent City. Originally, this title should not have been given to him, but to his father. However, his father was accidentally buried in the Sea of Stars, and this fell to him. Marquis Charles slowly walked into the banquet hall. After glancing around the banquet hall, a smile that did not match his age appeared on his handsome face. "Chief Edward, don't you welcome me?" After Gray's father was silent for a while, he also smiled, "Welcome. How could you not welcome me? Marquis Charles is here. It would be disrespectful to welcome him from afar, and disrespectful. Of course, it would be more welcome if you could bring back the knight in shining armor. Doesn't it mean that Marquis Charles thinks that our Edward family can't protect you?" Gray's father said with a thorn in his words. Marquis Charles narrowed his eyes and said calmly, "That's not certain. I heard that the Demon City has been in chaos recently. If something happens, it will be terrible. Furthermore, the 10 knights in shining armor are an honor given by the royal family, not the Marquis's final say." 10 knights in shining armor stood motionless in front of the banquet hall, holding silver guns and expressionless, showing no signs of wanting to leave. Moreover, the same was true for Marquis Charles, who had no intention of letting them leave. He said he was here to visit, but it was more like causing trouble. The elders may look slightly ugly, but they won't say anything directly. Once they say that they want to drive the knight in shining armor out, they will be in trouble. However, in some cases it is hard for the elders to speak, but it is easy for the juniors to speak. When the air gradually solidified and the surrounding atmosphere became solemn, a slightly evil voice came out. Looking at the male protagonist of this banquet, Gray, who was standing far away from the banquet, suddenly said lazily, "Royal? Are there still royals in this world? Could it be that the Lord of Crescent City is ready to proclaim himself emperor?" As soon as these words came out, everyone's attention was directly attracted, and they all looked at Gray. Some people looked surprised, and some people looked shocked. This kind of thing that was being entangled in secret was actually mentioned by Gray in such an understatement moment. Before anyone else could react, a very stern scolding came from the mouth of a knight in shining armor. At the same time, a fierce murderous intent instantly condensed and enveloped the entire banquet hall. "How dare you disrespect the royal family?" With a whoosh, under everyone's shocked attention, a knight in silver armor standing at the front suddenly stepped out. His body was like a silver thunder, his shape was like a lightning bolt, his silver spear came out of the cage, and he charged straight at Gray. Every knight in silver armor was a person at the pinnacle of the underground palace realm. His sudden attack left most people present unable to react. "How dare you take action?" Moreover, the strong killing intent emanating from the knight in shining armor shocked everyone even more. The tip of the silver spear flashed brightly and pointed directly at Gray's chest. He was trying to kill Gray. In the blink of an eye, lightning suddenly appeared, and the knight in shining armor rushed in front of Gray. The tip of the gun was less than 1 meter away from Gray's chest. Most of the people present did not react, but there were also a small number of people who reacted, such as the people in the border city war courtyard who were quietly hiding in the corner. There are constant wars in the border city battle academy, and they are always in a state of combat, and they especially have obvious reactions to murderous intentions. When the killing intent of the silver-armored knight just condensed, several students of the Border City War Academy had already noticed it. After a slight change of expression, the young man at the front of the Border City War Academy flew towards Gray without hesitation, but before he could rush out a few steps, he retracted his body and looked at Gray with a serious look. In addition to the people of the Border City War Academy, Yejing also reacted. He stood beside Gray. At the moment when the silver-armored knight rushed towards him with a gun, Yejing had subconsciously taken out the golden knife. "Dare to attack." Yejing paused for a moment, then stood sideways with his sword, and stood in front of Gray. The light on the golden sword flashed, and the dazzling golden light even covered the luxurious neon lights of the banquet hall. The silver-armored knight attacked suddenly, and the moment he got close to him, Yejing held the sword with both hands, and the blade stood in front of his chest. He did not retreat and went straight up. Ding! 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 The crisp and deafening sound of metal collision resounded throughout the banquet hall, and the buzzing sound made everyone's eardrums hurt. What a strong force! The tip of the silver spear hit the blade of the golden knife. The powerful force made Yejing's face change slightly. He couldn't help but shake his arms, and the power continued to surge up. Recently, the number of new editions per day is less than 2,000. The online author humbly asks for subscriptions. Are there any pirated users who come back to subscribe? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bouletin G. Bayet. Chapter 278. Drink. Yejing suddenly shouted loudly, and all the strength in his body surged. The veins in his arms swelled, and his strength increased, and he forcefully pushed back the silver spear in the hands of the knight in silver armor. It's not your turn to take action here yet. Yejing made a cold sound, put away the golden knife with his backhand, and secretly hid his numb hands behind his back. After this moment of interruption, Gray's father's heart dropped in his throat, and he cursed in his heart, "Dear me, you brat is so dishonest." However, he did not say these words. A trace of gloom flashed in his eyes. He snorted at Marquis Charles and said viciously, "Marquis Charles, what do you mean? How dare you treat my son in front of me? Go ahead and give me an explanation today. I don't think any of you will go back." Awesome. Even a knight in shining armor can be pushed back by you. Gray seemed not to be frightened at all. He looked at Yejing excitedly and whispered. Yejing shook his head and said solemnly, "He didn't use all his strength. I guess he just wanted to give you a blow. Even if I don't take action, I can't hurt you." At that time, Yejing's hands were already holding weapons, and the knight in silver armor was only holding a gun with one hand, presumably hiding some of his strength. However, Yejing was very confused. If he didn't want to kill Gray, why did he take action? Doesn't this make the relationship more rigid? Are you trying to muddy the waters? Isn't the current water muddy enough? Moreover, Yejing's eyes unconsciously glanced at Gray's father. Since he could see it, most people present must also be able to see it. Now that you can see it, why do you still ask questions out loud? Mom. Yejing muttered secretly in his heart, why do I feel that these Shabai elders are acting? Faced with Gray's father's questioning, Marquis Charles said calmly, I didn't give any orders. It was your son who made arrogant remarks and was disrespectful to the Crescent royal family, which made Crescent angry. The knight was dissatisfied and took action to teach him a lesson. Hey, Crescent royal family, when did the Federation consecrate the Lord of Crescent City and suddenly became a royal person? Are there any royal people in Blue Star? Gray said angrily, if he attacks him, can he still bear this breath? The irritable Zon people protect their dignity online. Just as Gray was about to continue spraying, Yejing grabbed his sleeve. Why are you stopping me? Gray whispered, dissatisfied. Yejing felt that something was a little wrong, and hurriedly gave Gray a wink, telling him to shut up. Something seemed wrong about this matter, and something serious might really happen. Crescent City monopolizes the moon, a completed planet, and has been supplied by the Blue Star Federation for nearly 100 years. A large amount of Blue Star resources have poured into Crescent City, and the local resources of the moon also belong to Crescent City. Not only the resources, but also the talents of Blue Star. Every year, a large number of talented elites are sent to Crescent City to build the moon. With elites, resources, and a unique astrology, Crescent City's ambitions have gradually expanded over the past 100 years. Especially in the past 2 years, Crescent City has been slowly breaking away from the control of the Federation. Recently, almost all the senior executives of Blue Star know what Crescent City wants to do. Almost all the senior executives of Blue Star know that Crescent City wants to change the word city. It's just that whether it's raising tigers to create trouble or it's a mistake, the current situation is out of the control of the Federation. The situation has been decided. Now it's just a matter of delaying it as long as it can. Of course, they definitely couldn't send people to clear out Crescent City. After all, they were both human beings, so it was impossible to use force directly. Therefore, this play is being played, Crescent City is playing it, Marquis Charles is playing it, and Gray's father is also playing it. It just depends on who acts like it. I remember that when the Demon City was first established, the Lord of Crescent City also participated. My father and I were still old acquaintances, but after the lunar incident, he was sent to the moon to build a new city. 100 years have passed, but his bloodline has changed. Gray's father said calmly. A hint of contempt flashed in Marquis Charles's eyes, and he said calmly, how can there be any blood in this world? All the authoritative forces have been fought hard. Crescent City is no longer the Crescent City 100 years ago. Say it. Marquis Charles suddenly laughed and touched the bracelet slowly. A dark green, fluorescent object appeared on his hand. The moment this object appeared, everyone in the banquet hall changed instantly. Their whole bodies suddenly relaxed, as if the spring breeze was blowing, and they felt extremely comfortable. In the entire banquet hall, a natural atmosphere emerged inexplicably, and the natural green filled the ceiling. This is. As soon as this object came out, the expressions of the federal directors, The elders who had been wandering around and indifferent before, changed instantly, and they all looked at the object in the hands of Marquis Charles. That's right. Marquis Charles raised his head very proudly and looked down at everyone present, and his proud heart was released in an instant. This thing is probably going to be revealed to the entire Blue Star tomorrow. Let me open your eyes today. What? Yejing frowned, turned to Gray and asked, the guests present are all well-known people. What secret treasures have you never seen? How could you be shocked by a small object? I don't know. Gray shook his head. He suddenly thought of something, and his eyes lit up. Do you feel it? This seems to be similar to the breath of the life spring we used before. Life spring? Yejing was stunned. Is it the life-saving spring of the Jupiter elves? It seems to be a bit similar. When they were seriously injured before, Gray took out a few drops. That was exchanged from the elves on the fragments of the Jupiter planet. It was simply worth a fortune. It seems that the object in the hands of Marquis Richard is also related to the Jupiter elves? That's right. Just listen to Marquis Richard's contemptuous smile, and said proudly, this is the New Moon City, no, the diplomatic letter between the New Moon Empire and the Jupiter alien elves? The New Moon Empire has officially reached friendly diplomatic relations with the elves? As soon as these words came out, the whole room was in an uproar. These words are like a huge stone hitting a calm lake, instantly stirring up waves. Fake. How could the elves establish diplomatic relations with a small city? Impossible? The elves are obviously allies of Blue Star. How could they establish diplomatic relations with Crescent City? No, it's hard to say. The elves are not competitive with the world, occupying Jupiter's huge resources, but they have no intention of war, interacting with nature, loving peace. Maybe they really cooperate with Crescent City. If that's the case, then things are really bad. It won't be long before Crescent City really becomes the Crescent Empire. Thanks to you Xiaoduwuku for the 4,000 coin reward. Thanks to book friend 2018040912003980 for the 1,000 coin reward. Thank you for your support. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 279. Everyone knows the heart of Crescent City. It has exclusive possession of the moon, a century of cultivation, and no war. It was originally just an independent city on the moon, but now it has spread over the entire moon. The moon has become a habitable planet no different from the Blue Star. It was originally just a small city. After 100 years of development, it has formed 4 major provinces. The 4 major provinces spread all over the moon and surround Crescent City for pilgrims. Jupiter was originally just a desolate planet. After the entire planet was shattered, the huge territory, from small planet fragments to large planet fragments, only had one green leaf or one withered green leaf. However, after the explosion of the solar system, cosmic energy invaded and the spiritual energy revived. It was originally just a green leaf on Jupiter. It was washed away by the cosmic energy and entered by trillions of spiritual energy. It grew rapidly and grew into a tall tree in just a few months. The world tree is more than 100,000 feet long. The world tree connects to Jupiter and breeds living beings. This is how the elves were born. The elves were born by absorbing the essence of heaven and earth, and their affinity to natural elements far exceeds that of humans. Their control over wood spiritual energy has been fully developed since they were born from the world tree. After 100 years, Jupiter, which was originally extremely desolate, has been covered with layers of green. The entire broken planet is covered with green trees, green branches, and grass. There are even huge green branches of the world tree that reach the sky and have been connected to the fragments of other wooden planets across the star sea. The elves worship the world tree. They are powerful but love peace and do not like war. Because of this, there are no enemies in the entire solar system and the sea of stars. Blue Star, on the other hand, had already submitted federal credentials to the Jupiter elf tribe decades ago and established friendly diplomacy. It's just that it's Blue Star. Blue Star is the land of the human race. The huge force formed by hundreds of millions of humans is one of the best in the solar system. Even the Neptune Sea royal family that rules Mercury does not dare to fight against Blue Star head-on. So Blue Star is Blue Star and is qualified to establish diplomacy with the elves, but why is Crescent City? Marquis Charles said it here today, and tomorrow it will be spread throughout the Blue Star, and the day after tomorrow, the news of the founding of Crescent City will be spread across the Blue Star. What Marquis Charles holds in his hand is a leaf from the World Tree, a credential wrapped in millions of natures. The natural breath spread throughout the banquet hall, and the light green breath made everyone's hearts tremble. Their whole bodies felt extremely comfortable, and even the branches under the corners grew a few inches. This is a step for the Crescent Empire, and it is not the only one. Marquis Charles only showed the leaves of the World Tree in his hand for a few seconds, and then put them away for a while. Today I just came to say hello. Tomorrow I will go to the Imperial City. Chief Edward, we will see you later. Marquis Charles nodded slightly towards Gray's father, cupped his hands, turned around and left. If you mess up, you'll run away. Etc. Gray's father shouted in a deep voice. How? Marquis Charles stopped and said with a smile, does Patriarch Edward have anything else to do? Doesn't he want to keep me? Snored. Gray's father had a sullen face and sneered, the Marquis is holding the leaves of the World Tree. Where in the entire solar system can't he go? Who in the entire solar system can stop you? You are really kidding. If there is anything in the entire solar system that can travel unimpeded in the solar system, it is the leaves of the elf World Tree. The elves have no enemies in the entire solar system, not even the Star Sea Bandits. As long as they do not cause war to the elves, all races are friends of the elves. Marquis Charles held the leaves of the World Tree in his hand, and wherever he went, people asked him to give him 3 points. Only. After Gray's father paused, his eyes were cold and he said in a low voice, remember, as a human being, don't forget your roots. You people in Crescent City are also from Blue Star, so don't forget the place of your ancestors. No matter how ambitious you are, don't forget that your Crescent City is not qualified to establish a foothold in the solar system. While talking, father and son went into battle. Gray couldn't help but interject, shook his arms, and said in a strange tone, I really don't know if you have any big shots in Crescent City. With such arrogance, I thought your city lord had broken through to the 3 disaster realms and became a semi-saint. Woolen cloth. You. As soon as he said this, Marquis Charles's face suddenly changed slightly, a trace of gloom flashed in his eyes, and he said angrily, you arrogant villain. This is the problem with their Crescent City, the problem of heritage. In their Crescent City, the tallest and strongest people are only at the peak of the transcendent realm, which means that Crescent City does not have the top and most high-end combat power. This is also the place where they have the least confidence in Crescent City. There is no top combat power in the solar system. This is the reason why Crescent City has not established an empire for a long time. If they had big bosses from the 3 disaster realms in Crescent City, they would have gotten rid of the Blue Star Federation and established their own country 10 years ago. The establishment of the Crescent Empire is already what everyone expects. No matter how it is blocked, this is a fact. Marquis Charles suppressed his anger and said calmly, sometime later, at the founding ceremony of the Crescent Empire, I will also invite the head of the Edward family to the Crescent Imperial City to watch the ceremony. This is an invitation letter. I will give it to your eldest son. The Marquis is gone, there's no need to send it off. After saying that, Marquis Charles took out a black and gold invitation document from his arms, waved his wrist, and with a whoosh, the black and gold invitation letter shot straight towards Gray like a stream of light. Gray saw the black gold flowing towards him, his eyes tightened, he suddenly reached out and held the black gold invitation in his hand. Invitation to the ceremony? This is ready. Gray squinted his eyes and without even looking at the invitation in his hand, he put it directly into his storage bracelet. He pretended to be nonchalant and said, "Thank you, Lord Marquis. I'll go when I have time." "Okay, that's best." Marquis Charles said calmly, then gave a slight greeting to other people in the banquet hall, waved his hand, and turned to leave. After Marquis Charles left the banquet hall, the 10 knights in shining armor who had been standing upright like pines and statues took action, turned around and followed. The comings and goings are fierce. After Marquis Charles from Crescent City left, the banquet hall was filled with discussions in an instant. It seems that Crescent City is ready. Even the invitations to the ceremony are ready. Who says it's not the case? I've guessed that they had this idea several years ago. They've been delaying it for several years. It seems they can't delay it. Crescent City will eventually break away from Blue Star. Who wants others to monopolize a planet? Humph, I think I'm used to it. Let a big boss from the 3 disaster realms go to Crescent City to clean up, and that's it, isn't it? After spending so much time, we can't even clean up now. We can only watch them build. There is nothing we can do about this. Perhaps in 2 months, a second human force will appear in the solar system. Once the banquet was disturbed by Marquis Charles, there was no need to continue it. Before long, the guests who were coming and going had dispersed. Seeing that everyone else had left, Yejing couldn't stay any longer. He turned to Gray and said, "That's it for today, then we have to leave too." "Well, there's nothing else to do. I guess my dad still wants to see me for this invitation, and I don't have time to take you to play." After saying that, Gray waved and Xiaowu ran over from a distance. Gray said to Xiaowu, "Send them back. If anything happens, please contact me." "Yes." Xiaowu responded, smiled, and said to Yejing and others with a smile, "Let's go, let me take you back." Yejing nodded, and just as he was about to turn around and leave, he heard Gray's call behind him again. "What's wrong? Is there anything else?" Yejing said doubtfully. "Yes, I have." Gray slapped his forehead and said confusedly, "I almost forgot our business." After saying that, he quickly walked to Yejing and hurriedly took out a few silver storage bracelets and handed them to Yejing. "The concentration of the sun essence has been completed. This is your half. Be careful when you take it back to take it. Don't be interrupted by others. If you do, it will be in vain." "Is it going to be fine so soon?" Yejing was slightly startled. "This is a precious thing. Does it have high-level energy? How is the effect?" Gray raised his eyebrows and chuckled. 10% of all the energy in the sun essence you took was lost, and the remaining 90% is in it. Half of it is used by each person to charge with high-level energy. The realm can be improved by at least 2 small realms. That's not bad. There have been too many troubles recently. If you can improve a little bit, you can do it." After Gray paused, he pointed to other storage bracelets and said, "There is also money to buy the other half of the sun essence from you, 5 million spiritual stones, and a full storage bracelet." 5 million spirit stones, Yejing frowned. "Why are there so few?" Gray looked surprised and said, "What? What did you say?" "Master." "Forward." Yejing was stunned and speechless, and suddenly remembered, "This is really a lot, sin, too greedy. What's the matter? Even 5 million spiritual stones are too few for him. He obviously doesn't even have 50,000 spiritual stones in his hand. Perhaps, this may be a psychological effect, because this spiritual stone was obtained from selling the sun essence, and the sun essence has long been his. 5 million spiritual stones is already a high price. How many more do you want to sell after losing 100 years of high-level energy? Gray said angrily. After finishing speaking, he pointed to the other two storage bracelets and continued, inside are the rare metals I collected, as well as various types of magic cores. There are dozens of groups. Take them back and take a closer look. Just refine as many pieces as you can. So many, Yejing said in surprise, dozens of groups? Do we need to make so many for the first batch? Gray nodded, who would be dissatisfied with making money? But don't worry, tell me when you finish practicing. When you finish this batch of things, our store will open. Yejing said, well, I understand. It probably won't take long. You don't have to rush me. You'd better do it. Over there in the store. After Yejing put everything into the storage bracelet, he said goodbye to Gray and turned around to leave. Outside the villa, Xiaowu was already waiting for him. Brother Jing, where are you going? A college or a small villa? After thinking for a while, Yejing said, go back to the small villa. There have been a lot of things going on in the past 2 days, and the college is too chaotic. It is more convenient to go back to your home, which is very quiet. Back home, Yejing leaned on the sofa like a dead fish as always, taking a slow breath. Different scenes flashed through his mind, thinking back to what happened after he came to the Magic City during this period. The moon is dark, the secret realm of the dead, the Black God Society, the Demon Court, the population migration plan, the White Whale, the first expeditionary army has no news, the Black God Society has built the Chaos Demon City, and the New Moon City is preparing to establish a country. Oh my God! Yejing couldn't help but sigh in his heart. In less than 2 months, he encountered more things than he had encountered in the past 18 years. The sky was originally dark. After a day of tiredness, he just washed and went back to his room to sleep. If there is anything, he will talk about it tomorrow. The night is getting darker. In a luxurious courtyard in the Demon City, the Black God, who had beaten Yejing and others casually, was lazily lying on the gorgeous sofa, waiting for someone to come. Suddenly, there was a slight sound. The door opened. Marquis Richard, who had just been attending a banquet at the Edward family, walked in slowly. What image? Is he uneducated? Marquis Richard saw that the Black God was not lying on the sofa properly, and couldn't help but frowned and scolded. Education. The Black God raised his eyelids slightly, sat up slowly, stretched his waist, and said lightly, education is something that only weak people talk about. I have entered the destiny, and I am the chief of the Black God Society. It won't be long before I have the title of the Crescent Empire. Who dares to say that I have no education? Humph! Marquis Richard snorted coldly, saying coldly without any hesitation, you don't know what you mean. Even if the rat in the gutter turns over, it is still a rat. After scolding, Marquis Richard looked at the Black God with a blank expression and questioned, you haven't done anything that was entrusted to you, still want a title. Haha, Lord Marquis, whether it is done well or not is not up to you. The Black God smiled faintly, the Demon City is in chaos, the 100 Schools War is about to be in chaos, the first expeditionary army is still missing, and our leader is still intercepting the first expeditionary army in the Starry Sea. Aren't these things a problem? As long as the New Moon Empire is established, we will be a great achievement. Whether there is a title at that time is not up to Lord Marquis. As long as they have the title of the New Moon Empire, the Black God Society will turn over, from the dark world of the Demon City, to the Lord of the New Moon Empire. That is why even if many people die in the Black God Society, as long as the transaction is completed, it is worth it. The Black God slowly stood up, with a strange smile on his face, he gave a very non-standard salute to the Marquis Richard, and chuckled and said, in the future in the New Moon Empire, I will have to rely on the Marquis Richard. I don't expect the Marquis to be a count. This is our leader. I'll just be a Viscount. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 280. It's just that there are some other things I haven't figured out. Black God looked directly at Marquis Charles and said, the establishment of the Crescent Empire is an inevitable trend. We are well prepared. Even if the Federation wants to delay it, there is no way. What's more, the Federation may not have any plans to prevent the establishment of the Crescent Empire, but why? Do you want us to cause trouble to the Federation? This is a big crime. The Black God is of the same age as Marquis Charles, and they have already entered into destiny at a young age to control the power of heaven and earth. Although the two are equally powerful, they cannot compete with each other. Marquis Charles was born well. His father died early and he directly inherited the position of Marquis. This is the difference. The Black God can only be the chief of a dark force in the Demon City, while Marquis Charles is a big shot who can already have direct conversations with federal directors and senior officials. Although Black God was dissatisfied with Marquis Charles, he had to obey his arrangements and obey his orders. After hearing this, Marquis Charles put his hands behind his back and looked out the window at the dark night, as if he wanted to see the light of tomorrow through the darkness. The general trend is the general trend, but small trends can also capsize the boat. The Federation can't move, but other people who are restless and cautious may not. Even if the Federation only acquiesces, they will make a move. As long as they move together, just like rivers converging into the ocean, a small trend becomes a big trend, and they can also give the Crescent Empire is causing trouble. The establishment of the Crescent Empire is a century-old plan of the Crescent human race. There is no room for error, not even the slightest flaw. Even if there are just troublemakers at the founding ceremony, we are all sinners. Marquis Charles's face was gloomy. He had to admit that Blue Star, as the home planet of the human race, had extraordinary heritage, which showed that Blue Star's strength was dozens of times that of the Crescent Empire. Especially the combat power at the top of the solar system, the Crescent Empire has none. This is a matter of confidence. To put it bluntly, if the Federation is really desperate to prevent the establishment of the Crescent Empire, it will be easy. If nothing else, it only needs to invite the old Dean of the Demon Academy or the first permanent director of the Imperial City Federation headquarters. These two bosses are both three Disaster Realm semi-saints on the bright side of Blue Star. As long as they go to the Crescent Imperial City of the Moon and clean it up, no one can stop them. In the entire broken solar system, the semi-saint is the top existence. Among all the major alien races, they can only stand in the solar system from the semi-saint existence. Perhaps it is precisely because there are no semi-saints in the Crescent Empire that the Federation does not take it seriously, allowing the Moon people's ambitions to skyrocket but not taking it seriously. Marquis Charles was also aware of this kind of disregard, but he had no choice but to grow up obscenely. Okay, that's it. I just wanted to see you today. I'm going to the Imperial City tomorrow. I'll leave the rest of the matters in the Demon City to you. Marquis Charles glanced sideways at Black God and said lightly. He has other things to do. He will go to the Imperial City tomorrow. In the Demon City, all matters were originally handed over to the leader of the Black God Society, but the leader of the Black God Society has another mission. He is going to the Star Sea to intercept the first expeditionary force. So the only person in charge in the Demon City is Haishan. I understand. When the Marquis returns to New Moon, don't forget to report our achievements properly, Haishan said with a smile. After a pause, he seemed to remember something and continued, also, don't forget the resources given to the Star Pirates. They are masters who only recognize money but not people. If the money is not enough, they will not be able to do anything. Do it. Money. More money. Marquis Charles was about to turn around and leave. When he heard Haishan's words, his forehead veins suddenly swelled and he said angrily, "We haven't done much, but we want money every 3 days. These bitches are so greedy." Phew, Marquis Charles was furious. After taking a few deep breaths, he suppressed his anger and said in a deep voice, "How much more do you want?" Forehead. Black God gestured with his hands and grinned, "Not much, 200 million spirit stones. This is the last wave. Another 200 million. Marquis Charles's face turned red. "A robber is a robber. Tell them, this is the last time. If you ask for money again, they will be replaced." The Star Pirate group wanders around the solar system, staying on various desolate planetary fragments. They are the kind who want money rather than their lives. They live by such big people, and they can do something bad every time they can. If it hadn't been for the Star Pirates in the end, Marquis Charles would have exploded in anger. "Master Marquis, walk slowly. Don't forget the money." The next day, after Yejing woke up, he was not in a hurry to take the sun essence, nor was he in a hurry to convert the 5 million spirit stones into energy and feed it to the furnace. Instead, he first took out the dozens of sets of medals that Gray gave him and took a look. "Good guy. This is really a big deal." Yejing opened the storage bracelet and put his spiritual consciousness in. He was shocked when he saw it. His eyes were filled with gold, silver, and jade, and heaps of rare metals and colorful demons were piled up like a hill. His eyes were dazzled by the nuclear shock. So cruel, so generous. Tisk, 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 this is going to be busy for a while. Yejing looked at the materials filling the entire storage bracelet and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Although his face was bitter, he didn't know how happy he was. In his eyes, these things were no longer materials, but living spiritual stones. "Be good, how many spiritual stones do you need to exchange for this?" In the storage bracelet, there are mithril, black gold, divine fire steel, wood spirit branches, icy stones, rare earth stones, and diamonds. These are rare materials in various categories that can be refined to enhance the properties of equipment. In addition to these, there are also elemental magic cores of various categories, including gold, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, rain, thunder, lightning, and ice. These can only be regarded as medium-level materials. Perhaps because of the first batch, there are not two good things. Even the magic core is only an earth-level magic core. It is estimated that Gray should be short of money to purchase such a large batch. When this batch of materials is transformed into spirit stones, it will be different when it is operated one by one. After Yejing got up and washed up, he sat in front of the table. With a move of consciousness, he entered the furnace space. It was only now that he felt the benefits of the synthesis function. After he opened synthesis, he first took out some materials at random, took out 100 grams of mithril, 10 grams of black gold, 100 grams of diamond, and a ground-level magic core, and threw all of them into synthesis at once. He clicked the equipment option in synthesis. If we talk about the price, jewelry should be more expensive, right? And the materials consumed are not much, making money. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 281. After thinking for a while, Yejing clicked on the ring mold in the equipment column. Whether to consume 10,000 energy to synthesize this equipment? Yes. As Yejing's words fell, 10,000 energy turned into a rolling torrent and flowed into the furnace. After receiving the energy, the originally dim furnace suddenly lit up, and a raging fire rose from the ground, with purple fire shining brightly. 10,000 energy ignited the furnace, and the pile of materials he threw in dissipated in the blink of an eye, converted into a liquid form, and was refined in the furnace. Yejing didn't move his hands, feet, or eyes. Staring at the furnace, he started thinking silently in his heart, is this the world's weapon refiner? It feels so simple. Maybe after some time, I can get a batch of medicinal materials in Jangra and work as a pharmacist. I heard that selling medicine can also be very profitable. A few minutes flew by. Complete synthesis. When the beep sounded, a ring appeared out of thin air in Yejing's hand, a sparkling, exquisite and small ring made of gold and silver. In the center of the small ring, there was a gold gemstone inlaid. The magic core of the metal system. It looks great. Yejing played with the small ring in his hand and couldn't help but laugh. Even if this kind of beautiful and clear jewelry is not a secret treasure used by monks, there will be a lot of women vying to buy it, right? However, looking at the ring weighing only a dozen grams in his hand, Yejing felt a little distressed. 100 grams of mithril, 10 grams of black gold, 100 grams of diamond, an earth-level magic core, plus the energy of his 10,000 spiritual stones, such a small object, can it pay for itself? Although he didn't know the market price of diamonds and magic cores, nor did he know what price Gray paid for the materials, but with such a large amount of materials, it would probably cost at least 50,000 to 60,000 yuan, right? But I heard that the price of a secret treasure is only 50,000 to 60,000 yuan. You won't be able to make a penny if you are so busy, right? Yejing shook his head. Forget it, this kind of thing is not for him to think about. He is only responsible for refining this thing, and the rest is beyond his control. The rest is left to Gray. He lightly tapped the ring in his hand and checked the properties inside. Unnamed, refined from medium rare metals, inlaid with earth-level magic cores. Although they are all junk materials, they become invincible after being refined in a furnace. Attributes: enhance the strength of metal spiritual energy by 20%, increase the power of metal attacks by 20%, increase the recovery speed of metal spiritual energy by 20%, and come with active skills, diamond. 20% attribute enhancement. After Yejing was stunned for a moment, he was shocked. Sure enough, the better the resources, the better the attributes that can be refined. This is much better than the jewelry he refined for Ji Qingjian. Hot item. It's definitely a hot commodity. After Yejing saw the properties of this ring, he immediately determined that such a strong property could not be sold. Continue. Seeing this is equivalent to seeing a spiritual stone. The smile on Yejing's face is getting deeper and deeper. Money can make the devil push the grindstone, and money can make the grindstone push the ghost. Now he is equivalent to being pushed away by this thing. Go ahead. Yejing rolled up his sleeves and went to work. Wait, what element is this? Just as Yejing was about to take out some more rare metals from the bracelet, he saw that there was shiny silver, half-color and exquisitely clear metal inside the bracelet, which made him very curious. What attribute is this? Yejing was slightly stunned. Not only was there such metal, but there was also such a magic core. The magic core with this property was as if it were transparent. And the quantity is very small, only a few pieces, and only one piece of jewelry with this attribute can be refined. You'll know if you try it. Yejing took out the silver translucent metal and magic core, as well as 100 grams of mithril and 10 grams of black gold. Throw these things into the furnace in one go. Whether to consume 10,000 energy to synthesize this equipment. Yes. The furnace started up. It took a little longer, 10 minutes later. When the object came out, Yejing was slightly stunned. Why did this look so familiar? That's right. Isn't this a storage ring? Damn it. Yejing's eyes widened. Can even storage equipment be refined so easily? Storage equipment is the most difficult type to refine. Only 1 or 2 out of 10 blue star weapon refiners can successfully refine it, and the success rate is extremely low. Of course, he is not talking about the kind of mass-produced storage bracelet that is the size of a finger in the space and only has a few cubic meters of space inside, but the real, bigger, and better kind. Even the bracelet Yejing is wearing now is a mass-produced storage device. Although the space is a bit larger, it cannot withstand too much energy. But the space equipment he has successfully refined now is different. This is high-level space equipment, and the price is very expensive. My dear, this is money. Yejing murmured, his eyes shining brightly. Next time, he must ask Gray to get more space attribute materials. This is worth more than the trivial jewelry. Yejing has already imagined that the spiritual stones are flowing into his pocket like a tide, and the pieces are almost flowing out. How much space is there in here? Unnamed, ordinary space equipment, containing 100 cubic meters of space, can withstand a certain amount of high-level energy. 100 cubic meters can still withstand a little bit of high energy, which is much better than what he is using now. Forget it, don't think about it, don't think about it. After taking a breath, Yejing continued to work. This is the longest time he has stayed in the furnace space since he got the furnace. For several hours, he kept refining jewelry one by one, including rings, bracelets, earrings, pendants, etc., all shining brightly. If the Dragon Clan saw this, they would definitely rob him. Dozens of groups of rare metals turned into dozens of pieces of jewelry, and a big mountain of rare metals turned into a pile of small hills of jewelry. Not only that, during the refining process, Yejing himself had an unexpected harvest. In Gray's pile of materials, there are also attributeless metals and attributeless magic cores suitable for him. Seeing this, Yejing did not hesitate and refined a few pieces without any conscience, and kept them for himself. After all, he is also a practitioner of the underground palace realm, but he has no other secret treasures except a golden knife and a storage bracelet. This time, he also took advantage of this time to make a few pieces for himself. Anyway, they are all materials sent by Gray, and Gray's materials are his materials, right? He uses his own materials to make some secret treasures for himself, and Gray doesn't think he will care. After all, he can't find out the consumption. Not much, just a pendant, a ring, and a heart mirror. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 282. To refine this large pile of rare metals and magic cores into dozens of secret treasures, each with 10,000 energy, Yejing consumed nearly 1 million spiritual stones. Then, after emptying a storage bracelet, he carefully and gently placed the secret treasures of jewelry into the storage bracelet one by one. These things are all treasures, these things are all spiritual stones. It is estimated that for these materials, Gray has emptied his pocket money, just counting on this batch of secret jewelry treasures to make money. We can't delay making money. Thinking about it, Yejing made a call to Gray directly. What's wrong? Didn't we just break up last night? Why are we in contact again now? Did something happen again? Gray said in a daze, maybe he hadn't woken up yet. The pile of materials you gave me has been refined, and there are 76 pieces in total, Yejing said. It actually turned into 79 pieces, but he secretly kept 3 of them. Oh, the refining is complete. Is the refining completed? Gray didn't react at first, but after hearing this, he paused, jumped up, and said in surprise, "What? How come this is so fast? Is this fast?" Yejing was speechless. It's almost 10 hours. Is this still fast? Gray was speechless. Isn't it fast to refine more than 70 secret treasures in 10 hours? Yejing didn't know the refining speed of the weapon refiner, but he knew it. A more skilled weapon refiner can refine 3 items in one day, which is considered fast. For those who are unskilled, if they can refine 1 piece in one day, it is considered fast. But as for Yejing, before the day was up, All the materials for millions of spiritual stones were used up, and dozens of pieces of jewelry and secret treasures were all sold out in one go. What kind of devilish speed is this? If you could achieve this speed every day, would you still worry about not making money? Gray said excitedly, okay. Great. How is the effect? What about the function? Through the phone, Yejing could hear Gray's excited voice, and she secretly despised it in her heart. Is that so? It's not like you've never seen money before, so why are you so excited? He probably has long forgotten what he looked like when he saw money. Upon hearing that Gray was asking about the secret treasure's effect function, Yejing became more confident. The products produced by the furnace must be high quality. Don't worry about the functions. It will definitely be better than others. Now everything is ready. All we need is Dongfeng. When will the shop open? After Gray thought for a while, he said, the day after tomorrow. No, tomorrow. I will ask someone to rush it in a while. I can put the things in the store tomorrow. By then I will find 2 loyal men from home, and the rest will be don't worry about it, just wait and collect the money. Then hurry up. In this day and age, making money should be done sooner rather than later. Yejing then gave a few more instructions, agreed on a time to visit the store tomorrow, and then hung up the phone. Phew, it's finally done. After working for a long day, Yejing himself was very tired. Even just in the furnace space, he felt his arms and everything were sore. Today is the end of the month, and next month will be the 100 schools competition. However, now in the entire Blue Star, whether it is the Federation or the Dark World, plus the Lunar New City, and even the Star Pirates group, it is estimated that none of these forces is still focusing on activities of the level of the 100 school battle. The people at the top have their own ideas. The next February will be uneasy. The 100 school war is related to the resource allocation of most colleges for the next year, and it only happens once a year. However, the establishment of the Crescent Empire was a rare event in a century. Both related and unrelated people focused on this important event. Someone is going to intercept the first expeditionary force going back and forth, which means that the first expeditionary force is already on its way back. It may be a month or half a month before it returns to Blue Star. The first expeditionary army has the combat power to attack everything. When the first expeditionary army comes back, things will be different. Changes will happen to them. It is precisely in this way that the Crescent Empire was established at the beginning of the new year, February, when winter turns to spring. The first expeditionary force has not yet returned, and the Academy forces of Blue Star are busy with the 100 Schools War. Marquis Charles went to the Imperial City with the leaves of the World Tree. The Black God Society is still making trouble in the Demon City, and the Star Pirates in the Star Sea watching with eager eyes. These major events will not last long. No one or any force can suppress such major events. Although we don't know how much the Crescent Empire paid to have so many major events happen at the same time, everyone knows that it won't be suppressed for long. The situation is unpredictable, and it all depends on February. How many spiritual stones are left? Yejing glanced at the mountains and seas of spiritual stones in the storage bracelet. This is where the spiritual consciousness is. He could scan out the numbers at a glance. If he really counted them one by one, it would tire him to death. Gray gave him 5 million spirit stones yesterday, and in one day's work, nearly 1 million had gone down, which made him feel so distressed. Hey, this money and that, it's really easy to spend money. The more money you have, the more lavish you will be. Today, you spent 1 million spirit stones to refine the secret treasure. How much will you need to invest in the furnace next? Yejing frowned and murmured, according to the original plan, he had planned to invest all the 5 million in the furnace to increase his strength. But when it came time to use it, he felt distressed. 5 million spirit stones were spent a day. How much money could be made like this? After thinking for a while, Yejing glanced at the pile of spirit stones. A trace of pain flashed through his eyes. He was ruthless in his heart, gritted his teeth, took out 1 million from the storage bracelet, and put it into another storage bracelet. Then he closed his eyes and threw all the remaining 3 million spirit stones into the furnace without hesitation. Damn, I spent 4 million spirit stones in one day, so generous. The 3 million spirit stones turned into energy, flowing into the furnace like the rolling yellow river. The long energy breath seemed to have condensed into a solid entity, which was very huge. This was the first time he had such a big hand. It was estimated that there would be no such big opportunity for a long time. This was no longer heartache, but heart-wrenching. The energy poured into the furnace, and a large amount of energy entered the furnace, while a small wisp of energy source gas secretly flowed out and leaked to Yejing. The impact of energy flowed out from the furnace space, flowed into the Tianling, and then from the Tianling into the whole body of Xuanhuan. In the flushing of energy, Yejing's whole body seemed to be cleansed, extremely comfortable, and ecstatic. Energy entering the body is more pleasant than anything in the world. It is so pleasant that he can't even open his mouth and closes his eyes to enjoy it. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 283. The energy pouring into the body lasted for 3 full minutes. It was during these 3 minutes that Yejing experienced a pleasure that he had never experienced in his previous life, with a look of enjoyment on his face. I guess there is nothing more fragrant than energy aura in this world, right? Yejing secretly thought in his heart, it's just that the fragrance is fragrant and the comfort is comfortable. The price is also expensive, 3 million in 3 minutes. Is there anything more expensive than this? After these 3 million energy flowed into the furnace, the energy bar at the bottom of the furnace suddenly surged by a large amount. It is now halfway through. It is estimated that with the inflow of 3 to 4 million energy, the furnace will be upgraded again. But for the next upgrade of the furnace, he had a hunch that the next new function of the furnace would definitely be the biggest energy-consuming function. The functions in the furnace are clearly explained. There is no consumption that is too large. Let's talk about extraction, which only takes 1,000 spirit stones at a time. Synthesis depends on the materials. Even if it is the best material, it only takes 1,000 spirit stones at a time. 10,000 and 20,000 spirit stones. Combination, although combination costs money, it only means that there are more objects to combine. Combining two things is also very cheap, but the 9-9 combination is different. The price of the 9-9 combination is shocking. Yejing was shocked. He probably would never be able to save that much money in his life. As for exploration, he hasn't figured it out yet, and he still doesn't know what its usefulness is, nor does it consume energy. The total consumption of these functions is really not too much. At his current level, he has harvested more spiritual stones. With the black heart of the furnace, if he does not hit him hard in the next function, it's no longer a melting pot. Spiritual stones are transformed by spiritual energy. 3 million spiritual stones, even if only a small amount leaks out, is enough for Yejing to drink a pot. When all the spiritual energy poured into Yejing's body in one breath, it directly filled all the spiritual orifices in his body. Xuanhuan's whole body, with a pop, rose to a small realm. Not only that, but more than half of the spiritual energy needed for the second floor of the underground palace realm has been filled. I think it won't be long before I can break through again. Still too low. Yejing sighed. Realm is a big problem, but it is also something that cannot be rushed. There are now 3 million more energy in the furnace, and these 3 million energy will disappear in a short time. Because Yejing has opened the lucky wheel. It's time to fight hard. Yejing set his sights on the lucky wheel, took a deep breath, and exhaled it. Just when he was about to reach out and turn the lucky wheel, He stopped again. No, I'm not ready yet. Yejing suddenly thought of something, and hurriedly exited the furnace space, ran into the bathroom, and washed his body frantically, trying to wash away all the bad luck on his body. After brushing for more than an hour, he ran out of the bathroom, then took out the Guanshen statue from nowhere, and took out 3 long incense sticks from somewhere and lit them. God bless, the requirements are not high, just give me some passive skills that can keep up with the development. It is best to have escape, attack, everything. Now he only has 2 extraordinary golden passives in his hand, one is Sorrow of War and the other is Extraordinary Physique. However, War of War can only be used to save his life, and he does not dare to use the energy contained in it. As for the other Extraordinary Physique, to put it bluntly, it is a skill for taking beatings. Although it can greatly improve endurance, during this period of time, he has never encountered a war that can last for several hours at a stretch. It can't be said that it is useless, it is just that it is temporarily out of use. The Demon City is now facing a storm, and it has to rely on its own hard power, otherwise a gust of wind blowing from anywhere may blow him down. After washing himself, taking a shower and changing clothes, and worshipping the gods, Yejing entered the furnace space again and opened the fortune wheel. The current lucky wheel is worth 1,000 spiritual stones at a time, and a 10-draw continuous draw is worth 10,000 spiritual stones. After upgrading, 100 consecutive draws appeared. This shit is like a black-hearted mobile game. 10 consecutive draws have a 95% discount, while 100 consecutive draws have a 12% discount and 88,000 spirit stones. He now holds 3 million spiritual stones in his hand, and even if he draws 100 consecutive strokes, it will take a while. Let's get started. Yejing swallowed, looked at the Wheel of Fortune with gleaming eyes, and clicked on it with trembling hands. Whether to consume 100,000 energy and perform 100 consecutive draws, 120% off discount. Yes. Following Yejing's order, the big Wheel of Fortune slowly started to turn, from slow to fast, turning faster and faster, and even the after images turned out. Every time the big Wheel of Fortune spins 10 times, it pauses, and it spins for 100 consecutive seconds for a full 300 seconds before stopping. Harvest season is here. In extracting skills, 10 consecutive blanks. Oops, 8,008 spiritual stones have been wasted. In extracting skills, 10 consecutive blanks. Damn, my heart is broken. Acquire primary skills, fire element resistance. Acquire primary skills, water element resistance. Acquire primary skills, earth element resistance. Acquire primary skills, gold element resistance. Note, there are already 4 low-level elemental resistance passives, which will be automatically upgraded to low-level elemental antibodies. In extracting skills, 10 consecutive blanks. In extracting skills, 10 consecutive blanks. Acquire primary skills, double hit *10. Acquire primary skills, double attack *3. Acquire primary skills, bleed *2. After 100 consecutive draws, Yejing's heart was broken when he saw all the things he had drawn. Tears welled up in his eyes and he almost cried. 88,000 spiritual stones. Oh my goodness! How could there be only one intermediate skill? And it was advanced, isn't it too much? Yejing suddenly wiped away his tears, with an expressionless face, and smashed the statue in front of him into pieces. God is dead. After entering the furnace space again, Yejing first looked at those low-level element resistance skills. Fire element resistance, low level the body resists 10% of all fire attribute damage and attacks. Water element resistance, low level the body resists 10% of all water attribute damage and attacks. Element resistance skills? Yejing was slightly stunned. This should be used to reduce damage, right? Among the elemental practitioners, gold, wood, water, fire, and earth account for the majority. A 10% damage reduction is also a practical skill. Low-level elemental antibodies, passively composed of 5 primary level elemental antibodies, with 20% resistance to the 5 elements, gold, wood, water, fire, and earth, and immune to 20% damage from the 5 elements. Note, collecting medium and high-level elemental resistance will automatically advance to medium-level elemental antibodies. This volume is officially renamed New Moon Empire Chapter. I didn't dare to write it before because I was afraid of 404. Now it should be fine. Anyway, it's all about the plot. No matter how it's written, thank you for the book friends who have followed and subscribed until now. This book strives to have a beginning and an end. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 284. It's just that in the element system, although the 5 elements of gold, wood, water, fire, and earth account for a large proportion, their power is not very high. There are hundreds of countless elements above the most basic 5 elements. Maybe there are only 5 elements of gold, wood, water, fire, and earth now, but if you continue to draw in the future, it may not be the case. It's better to advance from low-level element antibodies to medium-level element antibodies. Although this first wave didn't produce any good things, it's not in vain. The low-level element antibodies have 20% resistance to the 5 elements, which is already very good. The furnace contains everything, and it has billions of billions. It's not easy to get something good out of these billions of billions. Just look at the 100 consecutive draws just now, plus the previous draws, the skill double attack is almost 100, and I don't know when I can get them all together. Continue. Yejing stretched out his hand and waved the lucky wheel again. Anyway, he had already exchanged all 3 million spirit stones for energy. Even if he was in a bad mood today, he had to draw them all. The lucky wheel slowly turned, and Yejing's heart turned with it. Damn you. During the extraction of skills, 10 consecutive blanks. Obtained low-level skill poisoning *5. During the extraction of skills, 10 consecutive blanks. Obtained intermediate skill, poisoning. Obtained intermediate skill, 5 elements attack. During the extraction of skills, 10 consecutive blanks. Obtained high-level skill, adaptive damage reduction. A high-level skill. Yejing's heart was shocked, and a look of joy appeared on his face. Compared with low-level and intermediate passive skills, high-level skills can be used. This 100 consecutive skills are already very good, 1 high-level skill, 2 intermediate skills, and a lot of other repeated low-level skills. Poisoning, intermediate and advanced skill of low-level skill poisoning. When attacking, there is a 20% chance that the enemy will enter the poison state, losing 2% of the current health value per second, which lasts for 10 seconds, and prevents treatment during the 10 seconds. Note, enemies above a major realm cannot be poisoned. Advanced skills. Yejing was slightly stunned. Advanced. Can you draw advanced skills from this? After being slightly surprised, he suddenly became furious. Isn't this just an upgraded version of poisoning? What a rip-off. What a black heart. Using the skills that already exist, just changing them and giving them to him, isn't this just cheating him out of money? It's uncomfortable, and I feel bad. The furnace is not worldly, how can it know that these spirit stones are all exchanged for by him desperately? The second intermediate skill. 5 elements strike, intermediate. Each attack adds 5 elements of damage, and the additional damage is 20% of the total damage. The damage attribute is random. Note, collect other elements and advance to high-level passive skills. Another advanced skill. Great. This is a passive skill that adds damage, 20% elemental damage, which actually increases him a lot. After all, he himself is a non-attribute attack and has no elemental damage bonus. Now at least there are some other attributes, which is good. The last new skill. Adaptive damage reduction, advanced after receiving the first damage, the next equal damage is reduced by 10%, and it can be stacked up to 3 times. Damage reduction skill. Yejing was speechless. He didn't know how many defensive passives he had, and he couldn't even count them. He didn't expect to draw it now. Although it is another high-level skill, it is not very useful. What does he need? Escape skills. Like AI Zyakui's secret skills of hiding in the shadows and escaping the ground, or like Gray's flying and escaping the ground, this is what he urgently needs now. It can also be like War of Sorrow, which can be used as a trump card and turn the tide with one blow. But like this, the passive skills with attributes that are almost stacked up really make him not know what to do. What else can he do? Keep drawing. After all, it is 3 million energy, plus the discount, at least more than 30 times, he should be able to draw what he wants. Apart from anything else, if he didn't even draw out a single golden transcendent with 3 million energies, he would probably smash the furnace. This is no joke. The lucky wheel continued to spin. Drawing skills, 10 consecutive blanks. Drawing skills, 10 consecutive blanks. Drawing skills, 10 consecutive blanks. Get low level skill bleeding *3. Get low level skill attack acceleration *5. Get low level skill attack deceleration *7. It's over. Yejing muttered in a daze, is that it? 88,000 spirit stones, is that it? Oh my goodness. He really doesn't treat spirit stones as real money. 100 consecutive draws yielded nothing, which made his adrenaline rise. Time passed. Yejing's heart also spun dizzy with the lucky wheel. Him. In a flash, 1 million energies turned into nothingness, and the furnace went dark. Finally. When Yejing's heart was about to fall into the abyss, a golden light finally blinded his eyes. This golden light pulled his heart out of the abyss. Finally got SSSSSSRRR. Yejing's eyes were about to burst into tears, and his heart was about to jump out. He quickly turned his eyes to the newly appeared golden extraordinary, muttering in a low voice. God bless, it must be useful. Abyss, gold plus extraordinary plus, this is the power from the universe, this is the power from the abyss. Every real attack will cause 10% of the abyss damage, ignoring all defenses, ignoring all shields, ignoring all levels. The power of the abyss will corrode the body and mind, and it cannot be restored within 72 hours. Note, this is the power of the abyss of the universe, which can be evolved with high-level energy, and automatically becomes a passive skill of level XXX after evolution. Under the icon of abyss, there is also an energy tube, which is an energy tube that Yejing is very familiar with. But now, he didn't pay attention to this energy tube, but looked at the 2 words gold plus, stunned. Gold plus. There are levels above the golden extraordinary. He originally thought that in the furnace, the golden extraordinary was the top skill level in the furnace. After all, he has only 3 so far, including this one, but who knows. Now, there is another golden plus. There is a plus sign after the supernatural, which is really confusing. But thinking about it, the golden supernatural and must be stronger than the golden supernatural, right? He even saw another sentence after the abyss skill. Can be evolved with high-level energy, automatically advanced to XXX level skills. He always thought that the golden supernatural was rare, but today he found that there is a higher level in the furnace. Low level, middle level, high level, golden supernatural plus, XXX. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 285. Two more came out in one breath. This really made him sad and uncomfortable. 1 gold plus, but he spent more than 1 million energy. Not to mention that triple X. This is all hard-earned money. In addition to this, he was also very confused about the Abyss power. Seeing the two words Abyss and the introduction of the Abyss power, he felt a little familiar. Ignoring the level, defense, shield, and preventing damage recovery. How is this so similar to the Omega Beam? Isn't the Omega Beam like this? As the highest and most mysterious energy in the solar system, the role of the Omega Beam has not been fully understood by anyone so far. The Omega Beam has a very strong suppression on spiritual energy. A ray of Omega sublight can have an impact on the three disasters realm semi-saint, let alone the real Omega Beam. And the damage of the Omega Beam almost ignores defense, just like the golden knife in his hand. Even if only a ray of Omega sublight is integrated, it has extremely powerful power and extremely high damage. The same is true for the prevention of treatment in the Abyss power. The golden knife refined by Omega sublight has a passive skill that prevents treatment. Ashes of Destruction, advanced each attack destroys the enemy's flesh, destroys the enemy's aura, and prevents treatment. Isn't this the same as a wave of Abyss power? Perhaps. Yejing secretly felt that this Abyss power was even more powerful than the Omega Beam. It's just a passive skill. I don't know where the Abyss power was absorbed by the furnace and turned into a skill for him. But this one skill is so powerful that it makes him shocked. Although it only adds 10% damage, what about it? Ignore level. Ignore defense. Ignore shield. The injured part cannot be healed within 3 days. This is the real strength. Once the passive skills obtained before are super high by a large realm, either the function is halved or directly abolished. He is now at the second level of the underground palace realm. If he really faces a strong man above the second level of the destiny realm, most of his passive skills will be useless. However, the power of the Abyss. Ignore the level. With the passive skill Abyss, it is different. Not to mention the destiny realm, the extraordinary realm, even the semi-saint of the three disasters realm, he can break the defense and cause damage. Of course, whether he can meet the big guys of the extraordinary realm and the three disasters realm is another matter. After 1 million energy, I finally got a skill that is worth looking at. No, it is a very powerful skill. Yejing secretly swallowed his saliva, looking at Abyss with reluctant eyes, so greedy. If there is another gold plus, his 3 million energy will not be wasted. Of course, he still urgently needs a life-saving skill. An hour has passed, and there are still more than 1 million energy left in his hand. Next, it depends on how much he can gain from the remaining more than 1 million. Yejing suppressed the joy in his heart, and continued to turn the lucky wheel without stopping or resting. Drawing skills, 10 consecutive blanks. Drawing skills, 10 consecutive blanks. Obtained intermediate skill, Moonlight. Obtained intermediate skill, Shadow. Obtained intermediate skill, Star Power. 100 consecutive draws completed. Yejing felt like he was playing tricks, but he didn't know what he was playing tricks for. 3 intermediate skills, the names sounded nice, but I didn't know what they were used for. Moonlight, intermediate under the moonlight, everything about you will be greatly improved, and all attributes will be increased by 20%. Note, the higher the realm, the lower the power of moonlight blessing. Shadow, intermediate under the shadow, everything about you will be hidden, and your presence will be reduced by 1000% when no one is paying attention. Note, facing someone who is one major realm higher than the host, the sense of presence is nothingness. Starry sky power, intermediate under the starry sea, everything about you will be greatly improved, and all attributes will be increased by 20%. Note, the higher the realm, the lower the power of starlight blessing. This. Yejing was a little stunned. For some reason, he felt an inexplicable panic and couldn't help shivering all over. Moonlight and starry sky. Isn't this talking about the Crescent Empire? Oh my god, it's terrifying to think about it. Yejing hurriedly shook his head and threw away the idea in his mind. This should be just a coincidence, right? After eliminating this panic, Yejing calmed down. Except for two restrictions, one under moonlight and the other under starlight, everything was fine. As long as it is under moonlight, all attributes will increase by 20%. If it is blessed by moonlight and starlight at the same time, all attributes will increase by 40%. This is an explosive growth. However, it is only useful now. When his realm is higher, the increase will be lower. Compared with moonlight and star power, shadow is a comprehensive passive skill. According to the introduction, as long as you don't make anything noticeable, your presence will be reduced by 1000%, which is very little. Although there are some other meanings, it's better than nothing. In a blink of an eye, 2 chapters. An hour passed, and the energy gradually decreased. From refining secret treasures during the day, it was almost dark now. This day passed quickly. Although in the furnace space, Yejing still felt tired, not physically tired, but mentally tired. Go on, we have to finish it today. I'll go around. Extracting skills, 10 consecutive blanks. Extracting skills, 10 consecutive blanks. Extracting skills, 10 consecutive blanks. Obtaining negative status skill set. Set card. Negative status? It won't be poisoning and bleeding again, right? Yejing's heart skipped a beat. Was the furnace using something he had to fool him again? He opened the skill set card and got several low-level skills in one go. Some of the skill icons looked very familiar to him, as he had seen them dozens of times. Look, and you'll know it. Poisoning, low level. There is a 10% chance of triggering when attacking, causing the enemy to enter a poison state, taking 1% of the current health value as damage per second for 10 seconds. Bleeding, low level. 10% chance to trigger when attacking, causing the enemy to enter a bleeding state, taking 1% of the current health value in damage per second, lasting 10 seconds. Paralysis, low level. 10% chance to trigger when attacking, causing the enemy to enter a paralyzed state, lasting. Stun, low level. 10% chance to trigger when attacking, causing the enemy to enter a dizzy state, lasting. Stun weak, restrict, knockback, blind, pull, disarm. Yejing. This is really a lot.